Hello everyone, I just thought I'd do a quick video and I just wanted to show you some bits and pieces I thought it might be interesting for you. I'm a retired bridal dressmaker and I used to do it for many years, and I was cleaning up and I found my little book of samples, so I thought let's share some stuff with you guys. For all you avid dressmakers there. This here was a sample of what we called curled or rolled hem georgette. It's a silk georgette, and I used to do this on my overlocker, or serger some people call it, and it actually has fishing line in it, and the fishing line in it gives us this lovely curly effect, so it's all lovely and wavy. And I used to do this for all those wedding gowns that were draped in layers and layers and layers of beautiful chiffons in them, and so that's what I used to put in them. So that was that sample. And this here was another sample, and I used to do this the old days we used to call it Cornelli Work. And what it is, I'll just zoom in on it, it's actually just a gold cord that zigzagged in a shape or a design. So you put the cord under your sewing machine, and one of the easiest ways to thread cord in your sewing machine is actually cut a little piece of a drinking straw and tape it in front of the foot on the actual machine, and put that over the top, and then you thread the cord through it in a really small zigzag. And what I used to do was I'd draw the design on just by hand with one of the white pencils or the ones that fade off, and you would stitch it away and you would make your Cornelli work. So, and this was a sample I did because it was a whole suit, and the lady's jacket was covered in this beautiful gold Cornelli work. In my years, I'm actually, like I said, I'm a qualified pattern maker and designer, and is what I used to do. And I was so glad when I found this, because I made this young lady's wedding dress, and it was in navy blue because she had just a very small civil ceremony, and I'd hand painted the whole front of the dress was all these beautiful ghosted white roses, and this again is on a beautiful silk georgette. So the whole dress had these white hand-painted roses on it, and I had bits of the silver all sprinkling all down around the roses. So I was really rapt when I found that sample. And I was queen of buttonholes, and so this is just one buttonhole, and the machine I had back then, you'd make your normal buttonhole, but you could then just use a couple of the fancy stitches in the machine and put a couple of fancy stitches on either side, so you could have your buttonholes either way. And it was just if you were wanting to make a plain garment look a little bit nicer by a little bit fancy on your buttonhole. And I used to make suits like crazy, and these are Welt Buttonholes. And Welt Buttonholes, yes, you can see all the working behind them. You would face your fabric first, you would then cut out your triangle shape, and you'd snip really close into the corners. So then you'd fold that in. You would then make your two pieces of, like these ones I used a different fabric, they're lovely brocade, and you would butt them up against it, and then you would very, very carefully ditch stitch into the seam. So from the outward appearance like that, you cannot see any seaming at all, and that's because ditch stitching is done in the same line as what the stitch is from the other side. So that's how you would do it. And you would anchor these stitches in behind, it's a bit hard to see, from behind it. So, and that is one of the Welt Buttonholes. That went down the front of the jacket. So again, we used this brocade as the accent, and it was all the buttonholes that was the accent. That's another one, that's a triangular buttonhole, and this one, it was on black, and I used a bit of leopard print, and that was fur leopard print, and that's what that one looked like on the inside. because when you would have the garment lined or faced, that's all that you saw from the inside. And when you look at it on the inside, you can just see where I have attached these bits of the fur and the black together. So again, from that side, it just looks like a normal Welt buttonhole, but that side you've got the triangular Welt buttonhole. And it was something that I was very good at, was buttonholes. That again is just on some crepe, how to do them. This one here had cord in the welt, so you would thread the cord in like piping cord, and you would stitch it down on the inside. So again, when you're doing a Welt buttonhole, you would cut a slit, then you cut into the corners and you'd press them all inside, so you're left with just the square. Then when you put your two pieces butt up together like that, you would then fold that back and stitch down there. Then you would do the other side the same, stitch down there. And then lastly, you would, this one I haven't done, so it's a good example. See where I've cut that little triangle? That's from when I've cut this part, because I've done a slit there and then I've cut it like a triangle. And then you would stitch, holding that triangle down, you would then stitch really close up to there, again ditch stitching, and that secures the buttonhole in place. So that's just a very simple Welt buttonhole. That same process is done for when you're doing welt pockets as well. And so the bigger the pocket, you do exactly the same. So that was another one. That's just using a little tiny bit. And this is if you want to, you can see where I've anchored and ditch stitched in there on that side. From there, you can just see my stitches in around that one. And then what I've done carefully is I've hand tacked it to just the interfacing, so it doesn't roll over the years of wear and tear or dry cleaning and so on. So that is another. There's another example just of a plain Welt buttonhole. This one here, you can see there I haven't actually stitched that one down. So, which again, you're probably best to stitch it down to there. And same, this one here is, you'll notice, is in one piece of fabric instead of two halves. And all I've done is simply fold it and pressed it to get the double split like that. So, and this is another fun one of doing buttonholes, and it's the same structure as the triangular one, and this time we've made a heart. So I've cut the heart pattern and I've gone clip, 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 clip all the way, turned it in to actually get the heart shape. Then you put your two pieces here behind it, and then you can see I've ditch stitched around inside the heart. They're a little bit more fiddly, but it's the same process of making a Welt buttonhole. And then I found this sample, which I really, this was exciting, this one. When I used to do wedding dresses, come right out there, down, say that's the centre back seam of your wedding dress. A lot of the girls used to love the trains if you would hook it up to the back of the dress so it would all bustle out. And what I used to do is I used a tagging gun, and you see you get these clear tags that are a hook. I would punch it through the seam, and I would put a bit of interfacing just to make sure that that was secure. And I used to punch it down through the actual seam. So the top part up near the waist or the back of the thighs, however high you want to, you would puncture in this hook tag first. Then further down the train, down near the back, or you'd keep picking it up till you felt it was good, I used to put a bar tack tag, and that is, hopefully you can see it in the light. So hang on, I'll try and get it over. See how I've punched the tag, I've gone in and then out. The reason I've done that is this side, across the seam, it forms the loop. I'm not going to get hold of it, sorry. So you would then end up with this as your loop. So it was invisible on the bride as she walked down the aisle and all the rest of it. But when she was ready to dance around and walk around, bridesmaid would often just go and find this tag, that's on the back of her, that's on the back of her there, and then you would just hook it up, and then the rest of the train would bustle down the back of her. So that's just a few of my little, it's out of my old files, I suppose, and I was excited here, and I hope you enjoyed watching the video.